Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After you through the news you need to know about, we're going to use the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. Really, we're obviously just going to focus on the draft. So this first news story, everybody knows if you watch the NFL draft. It's the source. It's the source we're going with. The Miami Dolphins just take with their first round pick, Chop Robinson out of Penn State. Now listen, there's so many different angles to go at this. There were definitely players on the board that I would have rather had than Chop. The draft really kind of shook out the way the Dolphins wanted to, and it really kind of sucked. Like, I was like, oh my god, Dallas Turner might actually fall to the Dolphins, or even Latu, who's my favorite player in the draft, and obviously the Colts. I think he ended up going. He was the first pass rusher actually taken, which was crazy. Did not expect that to happen. So sticking with Chop, I don't really know how to feel about the pick. I know a lot of Dolphins fans like the pick. I know a lot of analysts like the pick. I'm a little bit more lukewarm on it. Obviously, Xavier Worthy, Burton from Duke, who I actually liked a lot, we're still on the board. And I think the number one reason is because, and I know some people might bring up defensive tackle, but they still have an opportunity at that, so I'm less upset about that. And I didn't want a defensive tackle in the first round anyway. So it really was just those two players. And the reason I think I'm more lukewarm on this pick than other people is because we needed an impact player. We needed to improve the team. We still have an opportunity to do that in the second round. But this is more of a prospect than more of a developmental player. It is a position of need because of the injuries, and we don't know when those guys are going to come back. And this definitely, if he proves to be, if he really kind of reaches his potential his first year in the NFL, which is obviously a very tall task to do, then that's great. And this was a phenomenal pick. He's got all the measurables. I mean, he's obviously a phenomenal athlete if you look at his combine numbers. So he actually, like, when you watch him play, he moves. You can see why he was picked in the first round. He moves well. He's obviously very athletic, very fast. But the production is a question. And I know that's what everybody brings up about him, is he didn't have a ton of production. He's more of a raw prospect than I think I would have liked to have picked at this, especially for the Dolphins, who, like I said, are trying to win the division. They're trying to get better. And it's like, I don't know if this is a kind of a win now type of a pick. We're trying to beat the Bills. We're trying to, win the AFC East, trying to beat the Jets. So that's mainly, I would say, the reason I'm more lukewarm on it than other people. Now, if he can just put it all together and have his best season as a player, because if you look at his stats at Penn State, and I know, and we'll get into this here in a second, but if you just look at his raw numbers, he only had 5.5 sacks, which was the most he ever had in the 2022 season. He does get, if you look at his tackle for loss, which is not his strong suit, is not defending the run, which I'm not a big fan of when it comes to defensive ends. But he's not a small player by any stretch of the imagination. But some people have criticized that part of his game. But if you look at his numbers, he does get tackles for loss. He doesn't seem, I don't think it's going to be too much of a concern with him defending the run. I know a lot of people have brought up the fact that he needs to get stronger. And this is what I'm saying about this dude. It's like, yeah, he has a lot of potential. And it's like, was that really what the Dolphins needed? Was a prospect like that? The good news is like, his potential is like all pro level potential with his measurables. And he does disrupt. It's not like he did nothing in college. He does get a lot of disruption. I think he won more than 20% of his pass rush, which is ranked him top 10 in college football. That number is kind of it's like really hard to be a defensive end. But if you look at his TFLs, he had 10 in 2022. He had 7.5 this past season. He had 20 in his career, which is pretty. That's like high level defensive end numbers coming out. You know, it's not like J.J. Watt numbers or anything like that, but that's pretty, like, that's what you expect out of a really good defensive end, are those kind of numbers. So I'm a little bit more lukewarm on it. Not really that out of this, jumping out of the gym for this pick. That's for sure, because he is more of a prospect, and hopefully he can put it together. It definitely makes the front better because there's more potential for it, and definitely bolsters the rotation. And by a lot of accounts, and people who have been GMs in the NFL, he's more of a third down player. We needed an impact player, and now hopefully he can do that. I mean, he plays obviously a very premium position, which is a good thing. And if he can reach his potential, and we're talking about a dude who has a ton of, his ceiling is very high. People brought up the fact he doesn't have a lot of pass rush moves. His speed to power really isn't there. So there's a lot for him to work on. This is more of a prospect player, and that's why I don't necessarily love the pick. Is we needed an impact player. We needed someone who could kind of swing the needle, and really help the team out. This was a position of need in a really weird way. And I'm excited for him as a prospect, though. It's not like we picked like Charles Harris. I'm like, this is a bummer. Or someone, I can't even remember who's another pick, or Deion Jordan, where it's like, this is like, why did we pick him? It's not like that. I mean, I think I'm excited to see what he can do and what he can develop into, because he could be a really special player. And I think that's the upside, is there's a lot of upside here. Hopefully he can reach it, and it's just like, how fast can he do it? Like, how fast can he kind of hit that? And what kind of player is he going to be his rookie year? And can he play? And can he make an impact? Which is a huge question mark for his rookie season. So that's why I'm more lukewarm on it. But ton of potential. He could really become something. And I love the fact that he's in a Ravens-like defense, because I think that's going to be really cool. He's not going to have a ton of responsibility on the edge, which is a good thing. And I'm excited to see what he does in that kind of... I'm assuming he was going to be more of a stand-up rusher in this defense, kind of like a Terrell Suggs. I'm excited to see what he can do in this type of a defense. So there's things to be excited about. There's things that he can really excel at, which is a good thing. And I'm excited to see what he can do. But it is a big question mark as an impact player. And we'll see what he does. I don't hate the pick. I'm a little bit uneven on it because of the prospect angle of the whole thing. So I'm going to stop. We got to move on. It almost sounds like I'm like talking to myself at this point. But yeah, you guys get it. I know a lot of Dolphins fans loved it, which I didn't expect. When I was like, oh, let me look and see what everybody's saying. I didn't expect everybody to love it as much as they did, which is good. But, we'll see what he can do. I'm excited of his potential as a player. But we need a player who can come in and make an impact. We're trying to win a playoff game, for God's sakes. So I hope he can do that, even though it's more unlikely than because he is more of a prospect. But I'm excited. And you know what? Good thing is the man is learning under really good players like Shaquille Barrett, Jalen Phillips, and Bradley Chubb. And the facts are the facts. Like, we were really thin there on the rotation. So this definitely, the upside has gone way up. And so there's a lot to like about the pick too. So that being said, I want to get into this before we get into the next thing I want to talk about, which I'm excited for round 2. And it's going to be kind of very nerve-wracking. But Chris Greer did admit in his post-draft press conference with Mike that they did try to trade up into the first round. Now, we can speculate all day who they wanted. It could have been Xavier Worthy. It could have been Burton, maybe. I don't really know. But my hope is that whoever they wanted fell to the second round. Because I think there are still impact players available on the board. So I wanted to go through some of these guys, like potential Dolphins players that could make a big impact for the team with their rookie season. And obviously the receiver thing is still out there. There's still some good interior linemen. So let's name a couple of these guys. I think Newton, defensive tackle from Illinois. I don't think anybody had him falling to the second round. I know a lot of people have criticized his size. Maybe that's why. Even though we've seen like Elijah Cansey last year, we've seen some undersized defensive tackles be drafted. So I don't know if that's the reason. Maybe he has some other problems that I'm not familiar. I don't know. But obviously it could be a Dolphin as a defensive tackle, and then you can they did a pretty good job of like rebuilding the defensive line if they can somehow snag him up. It could be a really nice second round pick. Another player to look out for, Adonai Mitchell. He's most likely not going to be there. There's a lot of teams like the Patriots and the Bills who have obviously expressed interest in receiver. So, but still a player that would really help out the offense, really good in the red zone on fades, bigger receiver, very smooth, fits the offense. So I think Adonai Mitchell could be a potential guy there, even though he's probably not going to be there when the Dolphins pick. Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker from Texas A&M. Another very interesting pick. Some people had him in the first round. A lot of places have him as a top 30 player, as a prospect. Very good value at that position. Could come in and really make a big impact, and really would really would help cure the issue of, hey, our defense lets up a ton of yards every time we play Buffalo. They attack the middle of the field. Well, Cooper from A&M could help out a lot with that. Really good in man coverage, very good athlete. Could really help in that department, and would fit in the Baltimore-style defense as well. Ladd McConkey is another name. It's more of a pipe dream. I don't think he makes it past New England, so it's more kind of, it's not really that worth mentioning. But again, they did try to trade up into the first round. So are one of these players, and Chris loves Georgia. I mean, if you've ever heard him talk about Georgia, Rashad Jones is one of his favorite. I think he was only a scout at the time when we picked him. But that's one of his favorite picks since he's been a Dolphin person in the front office. So, well, there's a few other Georgia. I mean, Solomon Kinley, but that didn't really work out. I'm blanking on some others, but Channing Tindall. Some of these didn't work out, but he loves Georgia. I don't know if his dad was involved with. I don't know. I don't know why he loves Georgia so much, but maybe that could propel them to trade up for someone like Ladd McConkey. The more interesting prospect, I think probably the most interesting one, is Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon, the inside linebacker, or the interior lineman. That's a phenomenal pick. I think if they do that, then I'm pretty awesome draft. They address two problems in the line of scrimmage, which they've had issues with when they play better teams, and I think that catches them up in the AFC when it comes to the line of scrimmage. If they were able to get Jackson Powers Johnson, they get Chop Robinson, who's more of a prospect but could become something great. I like that draft. I think that's a very good addressing of some of the issues, and I like him as a prospect as well. And I think the interior line would be better than it was a year ago with the addition of Brewer, we still have, God, what am I blanking? We did lose Connor, Isaiah Wynn, who's coming back. So it is a position of need, and I think he could really, really help with the interior line. And I like him as a player a lot. I really like Burton, but of course Tampa Bay swooped in and took him. So yeah, those are some players that I think are, I think my top three. I don't know if we do dream. I think Ladd McConkey would be a phenomenal, perfect fit. Dominant in the middle of the field. That's where he played in college. Really fast, 4.3. Great run after the catch player. I'm talking a phenomenal run after the catch player. I just don't think he's going to get past New England. So it's very unlikely that he's a Dolphin. I think Cooper from A&M, the linebacker, Edgerrin, phenomenal fit. Could be a really nice need. And then Jackson Powers Johnson would be a phenomenal fit. And Newton from Illinois. I think those are some of the players that, And they're obvious, I think every Dolphins fan knows that. You could throw a Donnie Mitchell in there. I think even if he was there, maybe the Dolphins would pick him. But those are some of the players. If they draft Ladd McConkey, I will lose my mind. I think he's a phenomenal fit. Literally fixes so many problems with his team on offense. And I think he is a player that is like a huge impact player who can do so many different things. And so we'll see. There's a lot of interesting players. They already showed interest in trading up back into the first round. I hope those players that they really like are on the board still. Some other names, bigger names, that I don't think the Dolphins really need, like Kool-Aid McKinstry. There's no way Cooper DeJean, I think it is, not DeJean. Cooper DeJean is going to be there. Maybe he is, and maybe that's one of the players that they wanted to trade up for. But I don't think it's as needy as some of those other positions. But Jackson Powers-Johnson, Ladd McConkey, I think would be my over the moon picks if they were able to get them in the second round. Newton from Illinois, and Edgerrin from Texas A&M. Interesting. I think those are two really good players that could fit needs too. But Ladd and I don't know. I'm drawing. Ladd and Powers-Johnson are just the high picks of the second round, at least in my opinion. And we've been wanting a dang interior lineman for years. So, but Suggs Burton fell because he's such a good run blocker. Really would have been nice to have him. And we were one pick away from the Washington tackle, which was really unfortunate. I think the Steelers, I think Pittsburgh ended up picking him. Pittsburgh ended up picking him right before we were on the clock. And then Verse was coming off the board. Then Minnesota took Turner. It is what it is, Ladd McConkey would be the hypest pick. So that's it. Obviously, I'll come do another one when the next 2 days are over. Can really assess where the Dolphins go from here. Who are some of the free agents that are likely to become Dolphins. But the second round is still filled with talent. They do pick lower in there, so if they want one of these high premium guys, I doubt Ladd McConkey is going to fall very far, and I doubt they can get him because New England's in the way, and they've already said some things about him as a prospect, but God, that would be such a phenomenal pick for the Dolphins. But that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys in the next one.